Are you thinking about doing it every year, or was it just a one-time thing?
Well, I'd like to do it every year, but this year was very hectic for me. I barely got the chance to do my Saltlake test, which I sort of just scrambled and just did it because I knew if I didn't get around to doing it, I wouldn't do it. But there's been a lot going on this year. My sister, I have a twin sister, and she's very sick, so a lot of family matters instead. And so I just like the idea of educating people, not trying to convince people that the earth is flat, but just the the lack of education and awareness people have on perspective. If you go to the ocean, you'll see a miraging or mirroring, and that's the thing which causes things to disappear on a clear day. And it's the same as if you go into a salt lake, and it's just some basic things in nature, and then you just ask someone, why do things disappear? And they just parrot and say, because the Earth's a globe. But it's not true. So I just like sharing information because it's not like the information I've discovered is not like something I found on my. I mean, I did sort of find it myself, but it's not like I own it. I'm just passing it on, and it gives me joy. So I'd like to let other people have the joy of. I guess it's just having that context and awareness of how things actually work.
Appreciate you seem like extremely like level-headed and calm, which I sometimes can be, but you're definitely better at that than me. So I applaud you for that. Even when you're dealing with these guys in here that kind of can have their little frat boy attitudes, you didn't let that shake you the other night, so I really appreciated that. So how did you originally get into the whole like how long ago did you get into the whole flat earth concept and like what made you realize it?
I think in 2019 I was in high school, and one of my teachers was a conspiracy. He wasn't my teacher, but he was a substitute teacher, and he was a conspiracy theorist. And what he was saying was really odd, but at the same time he was actually saying things with substance. So I thought, well, he's convinced. He's not a fool, but he's just really convinced himself, and it just sparked a bit of curiosity. But it took 6 months or some like a long amount of time before I actually revisited some of the things he said and thought, well, maybe I will think about it. And I'll admit, I think my start to flat Earth was not very strong because I was raised a Christian. Now I'm not sure I'm just sort of spiritual without a label at the moment. So I sort of just jumped into a very cultish, it is flat because the Bible says so. So I'm not proud of my beginnings of it because it was a form of indoctrination rather than actually testing for myself. And that's not to disregard like people who believe the Bible and stuff. That's fair. I just don't think using that as your solid basis to what the earth is the most logical approach. So I eventually came out of that because as I got more into flat earth servers, I learned more about logic, and that my entering into it was quite illogical. And so I guess I feel bad for having been so illogical, and I sometimes beat myself up for it. And I'm just trying to refine my view so that I'm as fair and reasonable. And also, I think if you have a good approach to how you like come up with things, then it helps your case when you're talking to other people. Because if if you're a flat earther who talks to an atheist, then you're like, yeah, it's flat because the Bible says so. That holds no ground for them. Whereas even if you do believe the Bible, but you just say, yeah, it's flat because I did measurements and there's no curvature which accounts for the distance I walk, then that holds more value because it's based in physical proof rather than a spiritual thing, which not everyone. So I think my main thing is I try and meet people where they're at. Like I don't believe in curvature, but I still use curvature as the means of trying to reach the level that other people are at, to give them that grace and mercy, because that's just a fair way of conversing with people, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's what a great story. I have never heard anyone like explain it quite that way, but I totally agree with you. Like, even if you do have that faith or you are looking at that biblical view, like if you can't learn the logical arguments, then you're going to have a hard time getting that across to people and building that bridge. So wow, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to talk about it. How about you? How did you get into the flat Earth community?
Well, the community, I mean, I got into the community is different than how I got into the flat earth, but yeah. It's a long story. I mean, I started by researching it for a paper I was writing for a university class, and my research was supposed to be debunking it. I mean, that's the short version. And then I was going to write about how you would talk to teenagers to explain to them that the Earth was a globe. And of course, like all the globe believers that come in here, I was sure I would be easily able to find scientific verifiable evidence of this globe, right? Like, I didn't even know when I started for sure what it would be. I was just sure it must be there. And then when I couldn't find it, then I kind of had like a crisis, because not only did I have to finish this paper, I'd already told my professor that was going to be my topic. I'm like, how am I going to write this paper about how to convince the students they're on the globe? You know what I mean? But then I did write it, and the guy, it like made a whole bunch of flat Earth arguments. I like put some like globe believer, like this is why people think it, but really, this is what you find when you look into it. I kind of like gave both sides of the story, and he gave me an A on it. He was probably just kind of like, "Oh my gosh, what's this lady doing? I don't even want to look into this, so we'll just give her an A and she'll go away." But anyway, that was the first thing, and then, but I didn't even know there was such a thing. I mean, I don't even know how much flat Earth community there was back then. That was like early 2016, I think, or late 2015.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I didn't get really into it.
Could you
Community, like,
recognize the difference between direct and indirect evidence?
yes. I mean, I guess that's, I suppose, but thinking back at that time, yeah, because that was what confused me even more, that I did not find the 8 inches per mile squared, geometry explanation. If I'd found that, like my life would have been way easier because I didn't find that. Um, so I mostly found indirect arguments that were like questioning, I realized, oh, there's valid reasons to question this model, and there's not really a lot of verifiable evidence for it or direct measurements. So yeah, that just kind of raised the question, but it wasn't until I found some books, The Greatest Lie on Earth, Edward Hendry. I think that's the first place I saw the 8 inches per mile squared explanation. And then I read a couple other things, like however many hundred proofs that is, 200 proofs. I don't remember. I'm sitting at a restaurant in South Haven, Michigan. I had printed that off the internet and like, oh, railroad tracks. Oh, isn't that interesting? But anyway, but then I wanted to prove it to myself, Stacey, before I talked to anybody else about it, because I didn't want to be influenced by other people. So I actually spent years just looking into it to myself before I talked to anybody else who thought the same thing.
Yeah, I think I share that same thing of wanting to prove it right for yourself before sharing it with others. I'll admit with my family, I was very like illogical and blunt, and I'm like, it's flat, to the point like they, you sort of just make a fool out of yourself. But then I sort of learned, no, I need to be more careful, refine myself, hold my tongue, and actually work out or have the evidence I've done for my own self that if I do share it with others, then when they retort, oh yeah, well, what have you done? You've just been on the internet looking at things. Then I can say, no, I've actually gone out and done my measurements, and I've used infrared, and I've used normal visible light, and all of this stuff, so that they can actually see I actually have some weight to my words.
Yes. Right. Yes. And then I learned, over time, because yeah, I was also trying to present it to my family, and that was after I kind of went on Discord and like learned how to present the arguments, and then I realized, oh, that's not necessarily going to work. You know what I mean? Like with some people, like uh, my husband at the time, who's now my ex-husband, was going to put me in the mental hospital. You know what I mean? Even though I could sit here and explain all the logic, but some people, they're just recalcitrant glow believers, and they're afraid of anything
And
that goes
just
outside the
so
mainstream.
sure.
So, yeah, you just and then after I explained it to all of them, and some of them understood it more than others. Like some of my children understood it better. But the other ones just kind of like, oh yeah, now she's thinking that crazy thing. So whatever. We always knew she was out there and whatever. Like you can't convince everyone.
Yeah, the one thing I would like to do, obviously schools are annoying because they indoctrinate people, but I'd love to go to schools and just like guise myself as some sort of teaching science and stuff, and then just squeeze in some flat earth perspective stuff. But I don't think the government would allow that.
I mean, you have to put it in. I have some experience with that. You have to put it. You have to. I mean, the way I deal with it, which is maybe how your teacher dealt with it, that you said originally exposed you to alternative ideas. You can say things like, well, here's the current model, of the moon or whatever, or, of how eclipses work. But actually, there's a lot of questions about this, such as the Saltlake eclipse. And this is the model that's widely accepted, but scientists are beginning to question this model because it actually doesn't explain all the phenomena. You know what I'm saying? Like you put little things in there, and then they might realize, like you did about your teacher, that you're a person of integrity who's not just going to push a story on them, and is also going to encourage them to keep asking questions, keep learning, and question these models, but still learn them, because if they're going to take their little standardized tests, and go to college and do all the things, it's fine to learn the little fairy tale model, just like, you read, I'm trying to think, what do you read that's, novels in school, like Fahrenheit 451, you read that and it's a story, it's not history, and so same thing with the science stories. You can read The Wizard of Oz and realize it's an allegory, and you can learn about the fantasy globe model and realize it's a fairy tale, and then you can regurgitate it and you can move on to actually try to embrace reality.
Yeah, and in the end, I'm not someone who like divides myself between people who believe in the globe and don't. There are those people who are like, oh, people believe in the globe, they're stupid, they're delusional, and also the other way around. But I don't. I mean, I think it's a beautiful truth, but it's not something I like value over just enjoying talking to people and allowing for people having different perspectives. So I think that's a mature response that I believe lots of people in this community have, but it's sometimes people think you just don't want to talk to them if they're a globe earther, but it's nothing like that.
I know, yeah, and maybe I don't know, maybe when people are new to it, like there's more of this like us versus them kind of mentality. I have to go on a crusade and convert everyone. I mean, some people are like that, some people are never like that, but I think, yeah, some people, for whatever reason, the stage of life that they're in, their just ability to think outside the programming in general, their lack of security in being able to live their own life and wanting to always rely on that authority figure and so on. Like, they're just not ready to get it. So that, yeah, but that doesn't mean you have to like exclude them from your life. You know what I mean? Because they might have a lot of other amazing qualities that, just because you know the earth is flat doesn't mean that you're a wonderful person who's fun to be around either, you know? So,
Yeah,
yeah, there's
my
definitely,
husband
yeah,
ended up
flat earth is not a virtue. Yeah. Which means that believing in the globe is not sin or whatever you want to call it. It's just, it is a delusion. It's a result of propaganda and all those things. But those people themselves are just, a victim of this mentality that they were born into. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they're terrible people. I mean, some of the people who come in here pushing the globe are terrible people. They're deceptive. They use deceptive techniques. They're anti-flat earthers. They're just mean people. But, your typical garden variety globe believer is not like that.
I don't know about that. I mean, I think I feel. I mean, I get it from both sides, like you were saying. It's and I think at least what I've experienced is that when you become awake, as it were, you want people. It's like, oh my gosh, no, you don't understand. You tell these people, it's like, no, you don't understand. We've got it wrong. We've been told wrong. We've been taught wrong. We've been indoctrinated. And then the cognitive dissonance is crazy strong with these people. Like, no, it's a globe. This is what we have. We've done all those scientific models and the sun and the blah, 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 blah. And so, when you have that awakening, such as I have had, as a result of, because Jenna being my daughter and here, it's like, here's some information. Because I kind of poo-pooed it too. I'm like, this is so crazy. Look at this. And then she ran with it. She goes, no, Mom, I think they're right. This is a flat surface that we live on. And so, I was obviously more open up. I mean, when my kids speak, and that's always how it's been. When my kids speak, I try to listen to them, the best they can, rather than shutting them down. But I think overall, we get into that situation where, um, it's indoctrination, and then that, like I said, cognitive dissonance sets in, and then you're like, it's really hard to talk to some people because it just breaks your brain. I'll be honest, and I'm there too. I'm like, how can you not, after I've given you the equation, and how can you keep on keeping on when I've given you the equation for the flatness, and you're still gonna cheer for globe? Yeah.
It happens. Yeah, it happens day in and day out in here, Mother. And I mean, we've had Globers come in here and say the craziest thing. We've got someone who's come in here. His name is Donald C. And I'm not even kidding you. He said, if conditions are perfect, you can see the back of your head with a telescope. Because
That is
Glober,
literally physically impossible.
yes, yeah, but that's how they logic. That's just how, I don't know. It's terrible reasoning. It's terrible logic. And these people just
Well,
aren't
that's
really
giving
in
them too
touch with
much credit
reality.
to actually act like they actually went out to the sunset and like looked at.
I have a good
Yeah.
one for you.
Okay. Yeah. Keep going.
So I have a good one for you. So go out and this is really what's going to be hard for everybody. Not everybody can do this, but put on a welding helmet and look into the sun. Look at where the sun is, quote unquote, setting in the quote unquote horizon. It ain't setting. It's just getting smaller, which means if it's getting smaller, it's just getting farther away.
It's going away. Yep.
I mean, and I figured that out because we had it's funny because I worked at a body shop here. I quit a body shop rather recently, and I grabbed a welding helmet out of the shop to go see an eclipse. And it was right about closing time at the right time of year, and I'm like, huh, look at that. It's not going over the horizon. It's literally just getting farther away.
Was that last year in like April when we had that?
Yes, that's
Okay, so
exactly when
you're
that
gonna
was.
love this, right? The moon was not at all where it should have been. For that to be the moon blocking the sun. I think I've told you about this.
Yes.
Amish, or I guess he's sporadic E in here. He's got a lot of the deets on that, and it's mind blowing, absolutely mind blowing. Right? And you can't do that, right? We have these words, and they mean things for a reason, or else we would not be able to clearly communicate with each other.
Well, they still don't understand.
That's fine. I don't know if you've ever seen Matthew Learns in here. He's funny, man. He said there's plenty of strong evidence for a clover, and I'm like, then you should be able to prove it. And he's like, yeah, you can't prove the clover. What do you think about that? Yeah.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so, and I don't know about your quote unquote garden variety flat earther. I don't know I'm not sure what a garden variety flat earther would be.
You've got like the ether flat earthers, and you've got like the upward moving flat earthers, and that's pretty much what she means when she says garden variety flat earthers.
So,
I mean,
all
yeah,
I know
I
is,
don't know
like,
what I meant about garden variety flat earthers. I guess I don't even remember what I was referring to at that point. I guess, I mean, I would think garden variety, yeah, would just kind of be the baseline
There's some
regular guy.
Yeah, there's some. Yeah, I guess also as far as that's concerned, is like garden variety. You've got like flat earthers that come in hard, they come in heavy, and they come in swinging. When that's not. It doesn't. You don't have to do that. You got others that are really chill. You got the ether. Yeah, it's kind of there is a variety of flat earthers, but I would say the genuine flat earthers are trying to get into like ether and all of this crap, right? So,
but that's not even a real argument.
right. No, it's hardly.
I mean, that's the difference, with this, the channels we have here on the politics and religion server. I mean, my understanding of why they were begun is to try to stick to the empirical evidence. And there's other servers, people who want to speculate about models or other things or explaining things, but we're just trying to stick to the empirical evidence and the logic of the arguments and those kind of things, because just that in itself is enough, and it's the best thing for new people, because like Stacey was saying before, if you're like into the biblical part of it, like that's cool and everything, but you've got a new person coming in here who's not religious at all, not Christian, like that's gonna immediately turn them off. They're gonna be like, oh my gosh, this person's trying to convert me, like that is just not the way to start. I mean, I'm sorry, that's my opinion, but
I agree. Not everybody believes in God or the Bible, and so to use that as authority, you've lost that argument right away.
Yeah, exactly. This is why I was telling Hush earlier, Dandelion, I don't know if you were in here yet, but I was telling Hush earlier, because he was asking me why I was quoting from the Bible. It was actually just to show how plenty of Christians reject this book of their religion. And we had Castle Kingside in the chat earlier, who was doing exactly that, sidestepping and misinterpreting and rejecting, scripture of the very, religion that, he claims to be a part of. He claims, Christianity. The Bible is the book for Christianity. So yeah, I was telling Hush, I said, we don't need the Bible. We don't need the Bible to show you that the earth is flat. I don't need that at all. And
yeah, I mean, the only time I would even get into it is if the person's trying to say that it proves the globe, which people do sometimes. Yeah,
right.
We've got Fayad in here. He's a Darwinist. I don't know. Are you new to the topic of flat Earth, Fayad? Are you able to speak?
He's
gone away. He's ran away. He ran away.
See?
Oh, that fast. Okay, yeah. And to just bring this full circle is I like to approach with the fundamental basics, the KISS method. Just keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it stupid, simple.
Yep. Keep it stupid, simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Absolutely. Absolutely. And if people aren't getting it on a fundamental basic level, then They'll probably
probably
never
never
get it
will.
in the world of like, fundamental physics like thermodynamics and things like that.
Is Karma still here? Is Karma still here? I don't know if she wanted to chime in on anything. Is she still here, Drace?
Huh. I guess not.
Yeah.
Do you
Well,
see her in the
if,
Okay,
chat? I'm not looking
sorry,
at the
he's
chat
not in
list.
the
Hi.
room, and I was on the other side of it. I ran over when I heard my name.
Oh, good.
There you are.
Yeah.
There you
So,
are.
yeah. How's it been going for you? Did you have any thoughts about what we were talking about?
I gotta admit, I'm only half paying attention. It's super late.
That's all right.
I'm going to
Yeah,
sleep soon.
that's how I am half the time.
Totally fine.
So, but yeah, have you been like staying involved in the Flat Earth conversation? I haven't been around, so I don't really know if you've been around.
Well, I never really got into the politics server. I used to just hang out on our server, so when I took a break for real life stuff, just taking care of house and mom and work and all that stuff. So I've kind of been taking a break for a while.
Yeah, me
Sometimes you have to.
too.
You kind of have to decompress. You have to kind of leave and decompress a little bit because it gets to be a lot, and you're like, okay, I can't handle it anymore.
Well, it's also for me the time zones. You guys are always on in the middle of the night. It's almost 2 o'clock already.
Oh.
Oh no.
Well, in the summer, I have the summers off for work, so I'll be around more. Maybe we could do a ladies' morning. That would be a better time for you.
Right?
I have a solution. Everyone just fly to Australia and we'll have all the FE women in Australia, so it's convenient for my time zone.
Right. That's so funny.
Let's go road trip.
Road trip, airplane trip.
Well, me and Drace have been making a joke for years now that if you guys all just moved to Iceland, we would outnumber the rest of the Icelandic people, and this would become a flat Earth country.
Yes, let's do it. Oh,
That's pretty epic, actually. The last time I
yes.
checked on the stats, just between 8 countries, there's nearly 1 billion flat earthers. Just between 8 countries. That's pretty darn significant.
That's bonkers. That's awesome, though.
Yeah, Globers are gonna become a fringe group. Just a little tiny pinky sliver of a fingernail of a fringe group pretty soon. They just don't realize it yet. They just don't realize that they're all flat earthers.
But then the powers that be are going to hit the reset button, and then we're going to forget everything.
Yeah, we'll save that for speculation Sunday.
Got it.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a paradigm shift going on.
Yep.
I sometimes try to explain that to people who are globe believers who seem like they're at least willing to look at the evidence, especially young people, because they're more likely to see a large paradigm shift in their lifetime that, if
Oh, heck yeah.
they can choose to get ahead of it, they can choose to really understand it and then be leaders in the vanguard of explaining this to other people, or they can, do what people always do when there's new revolutionary ideas that threaten the power base and status quo and just, continue to make fun of it like a low intelligence person would do. So, it's up to them which way they want to go. And
well, if you had
so
told
now.
if you had told me 35, 40 years ago that I was going to believe that the earth was flat, I mean, that obviously as a young person, I would have just laughed you out of there. I would have called you names and told you, no, you're stupid. Something like that. I really would have, I would have said something like that. Gotten sassy. But now it's like, it just, like I was telling the other guy, I don't know his name, Jenna knows his name, but the Catalina observation.
That was Sonny you were talking to, because he
Sonny,
talks
right.
about that observation. Yeah.
And that was, that was the revelation I had when it really finally stuck in my head. But no, wait a minute. I can see Catalina when in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, I can totally see Catalina standing on the shore of Long Beach, California. So when I asked Google the question of how far is Catalina from Long Beach, it told me in miles, 29.3. And and so call it 30 miles, give or take. And, and then that's when you do all of the that's when you do all of the calculation and booyah, it's there. So, I mean, but yeah, I mean, had anybody told me years ago that I was going to be a flirter,
I remember when I first ever heard about flat Earth, somebody brought it up to me, and I laughed.
I think I sent it to you.
I don't know if it was you. I don't know who it was. No, I don't think it was you. But I laughed it off, and I was like, "That's freaking stupid."
I could swear I sent it to you.
I don't know. It was something. I don't know. But yeah, I just remember just making up stupid stories to try to validate my belief that Earth was a globe.
But that's what we do because our cognitive dissonance, our brains don't want us to. It's hard to shift that paradigm. It really is. So, but that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, I mean, I mean, the way I said it was maybe disparaging that someone would have that attitude, but I remember, thinking, before I researched that paper, I remember, thinking when you just hear about it, like in the media and the popular culture, just thinking, oh, they must be just kind of stuck in the dark ages, they must just be like retro, like denying progress, that's because I hadn't looked into it at all. So I just assumed like, that they just preferred to stay in the past, kind of like the Amish, but even further back. I don't know. Like was my attitude toward it because I knew nothing about it. And then as soon as I started looking into it, I'm like, oh no, like these people have real arguments. And so see, I respect someone because we do have people in here who aren't willing to like really make up their minds about it. But once they see that like there's more to it and there's real arguments about it, like they stop making fun of it. They realize, oh, this isn't just a joke. Like there's really something going on here. So I respect those people, even if they're kind of going to stay on the fence or not really willing to follow the evidence all the way. If at least a person is mature and thoughtful enough and intelligent enough to realize this isn't really a joke. Like there's stuff I don't understand here. So, just making fun of something that you don't understand is really a poor strategy and just makes that person look foolish,
And I had a science teacher who finished her job as being a science teacher, and she gave me all of her like primary school textbooks and stuff. And I scoured through all of them looking for what sort of evidence do they give for kids to believe there's a globe. And it's just, there's no evidence. It's just, it is a globe. Here's a picture. And then the only one piece of evidence they did give was in one of the books that talked about a Lapland expedition in Finland, where they used like the arc measurements of the sun and used that to like, I guess, triangulate distance compared to the equator, where they decided that therefore it's a globe because it's bigger in the equator and smaller at the poles. But that was like one sentence and the only thing I found in a heap of different children's textbooks.
Yeah, I'm impressed that you even found anything because I don't even think I've seen anything, claiming any kind of study. Yeah, it's just shown as given. And yeah, because when I used to homeschool my children, and so I would go through the books. Like I sometimes try to get like older books because they often didn't focus as much on the globe. But some of the stuff that was geography books and so on, they just put a picture of the globe on page 1. You just get rid of that, and the rest of it's just about flat maps, directions, things like that. Because there's no substance to it. Because as we know here, they have no substance. They have nothing. Yeah, they just have cartoons. So yeah, that's why we're going up against these people who can't even defend their model because they never were taught because there's nothing to teach.
Yeah, so if the government's annoyed I'm a flat earther, I'll just say improve your education system. Give me actual evidence.
That's right. Yeah, you guys didn't give me evidence, so I just assumed it was flat. I kept waiting.
Or maybe indoctrinate me a bit better.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, 'cause, I saw, this picture of somebody, questionable personality, that was putting out some kind of flat earth thing for children with this ridiculous cartoon model of flat earth on the cover. I'm like, "Whoa." Uh, I saw that, at the home server, and then somebody else was, like, calling that person out, like, "That is just a bunch of nonsense." Because, it's fine to, like, yeah, you could have a curriculum, but your curriculum is just gonna be reality, it's just gonna be teaching stuff without superimposing the globe on it. Like, it's not like you have to, you could have like a class or a section on how to explain the geometry of the flat earth to a new person. Like that would be one thing. And then once you do that, like, what else is there to say? Everything else is just exploring the world as it actually presents itself.
Well, you can always do the simple calculation like I did, I suppose, since it's a short distance, and you do the observation from Catalina Island at 29.3 miles, and then you use the globe Earth model of 8 inches per mile squared to figure out how much curvature there should be over the horizon from the shore of Long Beach to Catalina. Well, what I got was minus the calculation for the height of a person. It's roughly 500 or so feet, like Sunny was saying. He got 480 and I got 472, so we're in the right ballpark. And so if you were to give that calculation, you just give them that and say, listen, go stand on the shore of Long Beach, California, on the shore. Take your binoculars and look out at Catalina Island. If you can see the entire island, which is 29 or 30 miles away, then there's no curve. There's absolutely no curve. Or, and I don't want to argue for that because it's stupid, because the Earth is so big, we just can't see that's dumb. That's not even an argument. I don't even want to go there.
Yeah,
But,
that's a Glober. That's the common Glober dilemma. Is
it
Earth's
is.
density curve? I saw boats go behind a curve. Very frequently, it happens in here.
The
But
hell, you saw nothing go behind a curve.
And
so
they just
we've
can't
got
get away with that bigger. They can't get away with that bigger globe thing because all of their, fairy tale cosmology is based on the 3,959 radius. So they just can't get away with that. As well as that the proportions and everything would be wrong. I mean, it's just wrong. They're just wrong. But we're testing, their claim. So there's no reason to let them get away with that. Oh, Ildiko came in, and the lifologist. We got two more ladies that joined us. Hello, ladies.
yeah.
Welcome,
You.
welcome.
Hi, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there.
Good. We've got Jenna and her mom in here. We also have Karma, who is on her brother's mic. Drace is there. That's actually Karma and Drace, I guess. And we've got Ildiko, Jenna's mom, who's
Hello.
Bree.
Evening.
Oh, there's Ildiko. Yay! Good to hear your voice.
Oh, I hear your wonderful explanations. You are a good teacher.
Thank you. Yeah. How's everything going out there in the Big Island?
Beautiful. Every day is remarkable. It's most beautiful. Really. You can't complain no matter what.
I bet. Yeah, I gotta try to get there sometime. I'd love to do the boat to Hawaii. I think that'd be fun. Take a long time though, but I feel like that would be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, by the time you got here, you'd be ready to go back.
Oh, Crusader's crying. Are you crying because you lost your globe? Is that why you're crying, Crusader?
No, I have to
Did you
write this
lose your
assignment.
globe? Oh, what's your assignment about? Oh, he's gone away. He's not going to tell us. He just wanted to cry. But it wasn't your story, Ildiko. It was his assignment.
Okay. All right, good. So just working hard and enjoying this beautiful place, and you're sort of the. I love listening to you. I'm glad you're back.
Oh, I can use all the encouragement I can get. I'll make a
Pretty good.
soundbite of Ildiko saying, "I'm glad you're back." I could just play it to myself over and over. I'm just kidding. You know I need encouragement. And you're a very good
Yeah.
encourager. Leo's here. I don't know if he's a
don't
globe
hear you.
believer. What were you going to say, Ildiko? I don't know if you said something else.
No, nothing. Just carry on.
Okay.
You talking
Well, yeah,
about
if you ever
Leo
want to,
Vigildo?
yeah, do you know him?
No, I just thought it was a funny name.
It is.
Mom.
Greetings, Leo.
Sorry, I never grew up.
What they say, growing old is mandatory, but growing up is optional.
Facts.
Oh, I see. The lifologist is saying, you're saying your daughter can't join, like she's like not capable of joining because it's not letting her. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, she tried to join the first time, but she was supposed to be talking to somebody, Crit, or I don't know, somebody to try to get her to join. I don't know. She's on a couple of the other. She's on 24/7, and I don't know if she's on politics and religion or this one. I'm not sure.
What's her username?
I it's in Japanese because she likes
Oh, okay.
anime. So I'm not. I could tag her. I don't know how to pronounce her name though, but it's like
Okay.
Natalie something. I can't even remember.
Maybe if you tag her in the chat there, then somebody would be able to figure out how to make it work. Because yeah, these channels I don't know that much about.
Yeah, I think Aether Gris knew, but I don't even know if he tried getting her in yet. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we'd love to talk to her. That'd be great. Yeah, you've got quite a family affair going on there.
I just wanted to say good night because it's really late and we're going to sleep. But it was really nice hearing you guys again.
You too, Karma. It means so much to me that you were here. We got to talk.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get to talk again.
Yeah, I'll try to drop by sometime soon. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Good hearing you, Karma.
I've almost got Jenna's brother Ian on board with Flat Earth. Almost. Not quite. He's not quite there yet, but he's getting it. Little bit by little bit.
Oh,
yeah,
good.
like I told him earlier, yeah, baby brother is really mathematically minded, so he has got to see the math and understand that there is an absolute lack of drop over distance. There's nothing else happening. There's nothing else that can dismiss why or how we are seeing too far other than a complete lack of curvature. But he has to see the math. And once it sinks in, I'm pretty sure he'll finally get it. He'll start to accept this because holy crap, this is objective reality. And it's 2025, and it's time for people to wake up. There are a lot of sleepwalkers out there, and I don't want anyone in my family to be a sleepwalker.
Yeah, tell that to your Uncle Tyson.
Yeah, I know.
He's into math. Yeah, hopefully he can get with the calculations there. Do you have anyone in here?
Well, we've got Leo in the chat.
Oh, Leo's still here. Did
Hello,
he make
Leo.
a comment?
Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
What do you think
Welcome
about
to the channel.
Yeah, what are
Thank
you a person who thinks that you live on a globe, Leo?
I don't know. I'm neutral, to be frank with you.
Neutral's a good place to be. Yeah, because it's a it's a thing that has been claimed, but that's what we were just talking about. When you investigate it, you find that there's nothing to back up this claim of the globe. So what's led you to be neutral?
I've heard both sides, and I don't quite know, to be frank with you. I used to think it was a globe, but I've become neutral so far. So
So
What were
you know what's left to do then, right? All that's left to do is to go see for yourself. That's it.
That's a good idea. Like, yeah, make an observation yourself. Like, what kind of evidence have you heard, that pushed you over to being neutral from the globe?
just convincing evidence, I guess, being on this channel for over a bit.
That's
Yeah,
a
like
good
what's
thing.
the thing that sticks out to you the most?
But I would say the footage of, I don't know if it's a camera high up into the sky or something, but they essentially try to show that there is no curve over the horizon or something. Like the globers can't necessarily show the curve, and I don't know, that's led me to become neutral, I guess.
And that's really all it takes, right? Is for you to find that there's a complete lack of curvature where there should be, and that's it. It's game over. We've gone out, we've observed, we've tested, we've measured, and I've put my phone in the sand at about 5 inches above the water, and I'm seeing clear across the lake to the bridge on the other side, and I shouldn't be able to see that. There should be so much earth curve in the way, it should actually be blocking the bridge in my view. So, even over small distances, that curvature's not there, and it becomes more and more clear that it's not there over even longer distances. So, where do we go now? What now?
If you can go 70,000 feet up and still not see curve and the horizon still meets your eye, that's pretty compelling.
Oh, hold on. I've got some shots from several different altitudes. And if you ask Google, at what altitude should you be able to see the Earth curve, it'll tell you that you can perceive Earth curve from your airplane window, typically because a lot of airplane windows bubble out. But that you should be able to see the direct arc of Earth curve. That's that left to right curve. You should be able to see it from 50,000 feet, right? So I was just scrolling YouTube, just, doom scrolling if you want to call it. And I took a screenshot of these little short videos. And here's the horizon out an airplane window. And here is the navigational screen on the back of the headrest. Neither one of them show any Earth curve from that altitude of about 30 to 33,000 feet. Now, here's one that's really fun. This one comes from a U-2 spy plane pilot who is basically eating apple pie in space. He shows you how to eat apple pie through his helmet. That's not the point. This is at 70,000 feet. This is pretty mind-blowing. So, Leo, I don't know if you can see the chat, my friend.
Yeah, I'll see you.
So, the horizon is completely flat at 70,000 feet when, according to Google and the globe Earth narrative, we should have been seeing direct left to right arc of Earth curve at 50,000 feet. And I could show you another one here, and it's from an X-15 hypersonic jet flight to about 6 or 7 miles past the Kármán line, over 350,000 feet, and there's still absolutely no left to right Earth curve, direct arc of Earth curve present. If Earth were curving at a certain altitude, we should be able to see that arc of Earth curve. We should be able to see the horizon bending down and away, left to right, and forwards to backwards, but we don't see it. So, that's pretty damning for the globe, if you
I
ask
find
me.
it pretty lazy how people are just like, they say, oh yeah, if you look out the window of the aeroplane, you'll see Earth curve. But even if you did see curve, how are you verifying whether it's the amount it's meant to be? And how are you verifying what your furthest distance left to your furthest distance right is to the horizon? You have no markers which can affirm the distances, so it's a really lazy claim to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
it doesn't.
I think
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
The
go
thing,
ahead.
yeah, because I was just gonna add that because he said, yeah, it was the photos that really affected him because even though, of course, any image that we see of the flat horizon, like in and of itself, it's not proof, because we have these long distance observations, like your mom was talking about earlier, like the Catalina Island. I mean, just one of them, show that the geometry of the sphere is uh, not possible. And then I don't know if Leo's seen the list of them, and even that list is not exhaustive. That's just a sampling of the long distance observations that are impossible on a globe with a radius of 3,959 miles. But yeah, all these images, like the one Jenna's showed you and the one you were referring to yourself, they're the thing that does make it, get to the point where you, like you said, you were neutral because you kind of realize, oh, they're not there. There's all these widely varying and contradictory images of what's going on up there. So, there's really, even though they'll give you the little, narrative and the spinning globe and all that, and that's what you see in the textbooks, when you look at pictures and images taken in reality, there's a lot of amateur footage and professional footage of a flat horizon, and then also, of course, the images of the globe themselves do not match each other and have vastly different sizes of the continents and sizes that are out of proportion to the curvature portrayed and so on, to where those images are the ones that start to look fishy. If you just wanted to do a photographic study and not even look at the measurements, you would at least get to your neutral place, I would think, like Leo is, because there's something fishy going on here. What do you think, Leo? Did you like those images that Jenna was showing you?
I find them interesting.
Yeah, so if you click on, I tabbed you in the observations. If you click on that and open that up, I mean, you'll see a whole bunch of different ones. And like Jenna told you earlier, if there's one of those that are near you, but it doesn't even have to be, like, I think the Catalina Island one is on there, but, it doesn't even have to be one of those, because you can just find the distance to something, like, for example, and there is like an aha moment when you see it for yourself, because back when I was first looking into this, I remember, now I wish I knew where the video was, because it was a lighthouse. Now I can't remember which one it was, but it was somebody, just going out in the field like Saltlake Stacey does, and doing their own observations and tests. And they were so excited when they showed on the map how far this lighthouse was. They looked at the Earth curve calculator, which is what is given to us by the mainstream globe model, the official prediction of how much curve there should be. They zoomed in on the lighthouse with their, I think it was the Nikon P1000, and they were just like, I shouldn't see that. They were just like so excited and full of joy, because even after you like intellectually kind of convince yourself of it, like once you actually see it for yourself, I don't know, it's just like a whole body thing, mind. It's like, oh yeah, this is where I live. This is our world. This is reality, and just kind of ground you in, being just kind of more certain, which is a nicer place to be than being on the fence, in my opinion.
It's like a whole new world. And it really is, and it's the real world.
There's actually a very interesting story I would like to talk to you guys about, but it's a couple years ago. I worked for this older man who was a E9 in the Air Force for 30 some years, and I've tried to talk to him about flat Earth a couple times after he brought up this one story, because he had this huge plaque on his wall of Johnston Island. When he was there, it was a bomb. It was a bomb that the U.S. military blew up. They bombed the island, and it got us on the subject because I was dyeing his hair one day, and I noticed his eyebrows were gone, and he had one of them painted, like with the hair dye, and I was like, what in the world happened to your eyebrows? Why are they gone? And so that's when he brought up the story about Johnston Island, how they were 22 miles away. They were on a Navy boat, and they were 22 miles away from the bombing when they did that. And when the bomb went off, it singed his eyebrows off. And amongst some other things, he lost hair. He developed some health issues as well from this. And he told me that from 22 miles away, he was talking about these military binoculars that they had, that they all had them, and they were watching as the bombing happened, that they could see the 22 miles away. That's when I first brought up flat Earth, and it's because the first thing I asked, because I was already a flat earther back then, but I brought that up to him, and he just didn't respond at all. He just gave me a look, and then he immediately changed the subject to, I was a guinea pig. I was never meant to go to Johnston Island. He said I was supposed to do a speech. I was supposed to do a speech about Roswell, and they turned him down and sent him off to Johnston Island. I just thought I wanted to share. That was like the craziest story I've ever heard, and it made me think of that because you were talking about the islands and then the curvature, because I know a lot of people have said, oh, that you can start seeing the curvature from like 3 miles away and stuff like that. And to see a bomb 22 miles away with binoculars and it not being not seeing a curve at all, that's pretty interesting.
It is a great story. I love those kind of stories that are like a little bit different, than like the typical, people who are like going out there to measure it, but like the life experience of someone and then realizing that wouldn't have been possible on the Globe of Dimensions claimed. That is a really good story. Do you did that? So do you think
So long ago?
Yeah. Do you think that when you said that, then did he like realize the significance of it, or do you think he really didn't?
I think he really knew about flat. I honestly think he knows that it's flat, and he was just holding back so much. Like he told me so much information that I never knew about. He's told me so many stories about stuff that I like, even about the C words that happened from a couple years ago. I don't know if I can say it out loud, but the matter about telling me story earth out of him, but he didn't tell me.
I wonder, this is speculation, but I just wonder, if some, levels of the military, if they, consider it classified or whatever, I don't know. But,
Yeah, probably. I don't know. It sucked though, because I tried so hard to get information out of him, and I just couldn't get it out of him for like 3 years. I worked for the guy.
That's cool. Wow. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. Johnston Island. Where is that?
It's in the Pacific Ocean. It's near Hawaii. Now I gotta look it up because I forgot. All I know is it was in the Pacific Island, or the Pacific Ocean near Hawaii.
Oh, okay. Cool. I like that. Yeah, they're telling me if we had your daughter's ID, or even I think if you gave us the username, then if we got the ID, then we could figure out how to get her in there. It has to do with like being at a certain rank on the politics server, which I think comes from like sending messages and stuff.
Does she have to be a certain age as well?
I think it's 14. Isn't it 14? Is she 14 or more?
17. Well, that.
Yeah, I like hearing there are different people who talk about their military experience and how they help them to understand that the Earth was flat. Like James True, he's an author, he has a podcast, and I don't know if he's still active, but he's been talking about flat Earth for a long time, like 7 years or so. Anyway, he talks about his experience with submarines and how certain ways that the submarine worked, made him realize that they were pinging things they couldn't have pinged, that kind of thing. So yeah, I like it when people have just different approaches to it.
Yeah, I knew a guy who was in the military who, back in like the 50s to 70s, he helped map out Papua New Guinea. And like I'd always sort of take these
help them to understand that the Earth was flat. Like James True, he's an author, he has a podcast, and I don't know if he's still active, but he's been talking about flat Earth for a long time, like 7 years or so. Anyway, he talks about his experience with submarines and how certain ways that the submarine worked, made him realize that they were pinging things they couldn't have pinged, that kind of thing. So yeah, I like it when people have just different approaches to it.
Yeah, I knew a guy who was in the military who, back in like the 50s to 70s, he helped map out Papua New Guinea. And like I'd always sort of take these punts at him and try and sort of get him to say something about the flat Earth without actually revealing it. And like he never caved, but it's like the times I'd ask about curvature and stuff, he'd just like say theoretically, blah, blah, blah. But, I find it fun trying to get people to say things which you sort of think they know, but you're not sure.
Because I have a cousin who's in the military, and I feel the same way about him. Just like things that we've kind of talked about and danced around, and reality that he was willing to accept at a time when a lot of other people weren't. Made me wonder about how far down the rabbit hole he's gone. But yeah, sometimes you can't get him for whatever reason. You can't get him to talk about it.
I think the old people are harder because they're stuck in their ways.
Yes, yeah, and this guy, he's retired military, yeah.
Anyway, I'll have to get back to work now, but it was nice to chime in, and you ladies have a lovely night.
Yeah, too.
Thank you.
Yeah, and explain those things. We're planning to do this every Wednesday at the same time, so do you have to work every Wednesday?
Yes. So
that's too bad.
If I have car errands, I might be able to squeeze in or a 15-minute smoko.
Well, don't work too hard.
Good advice. Or maybe we could try to do one like we were talking about with Karma, like do one like that's more European and other time zone friendly, that maybe you'd be able to go to something, we don't always have to do it at the same time or at the same place. So yeah, Leo, did you have any questions about what you've heard so far? I bet you've got questions. This is that's the whole reason we're having Ladies' Night, is because it's like a less aggressive atmosphere than it sometimes is. So if you've got a question, I feel like this is the time. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, just a simple question. If the Earth is flat, then when I look at the sky, why does it look like it's going down as well? If you understand what I'm trying to say.
Is what the sky looks like it's going down?
Like it's ramping down. That's your pyramidal. Okay, let me explain this. I'm really good at this. Everybody has a pyramidal field of view. So, like you're looking into the wide end of a pyramid to a point, right? So certain things get to a vanishing point. It's that that, where they become too small for your eyes to resolve. This is something called angular resolution, right? So things appear to ramp down in your vision and it looks the same. I dare you to go look down a really long hallway and you will see the same thing. The ceiling will appear to ramp down to the floor. The floor will appear to ramp up to the ceiling. This is just how our eyes work.
I think you're talking about humidity, right?
Say that again?
Humidity?
No, humidity is not an issue. When we're talking about your field of view.
Are you sure about that?
Everybody has. Yes, your field of view is the way everybody sees things. And
so humidity is not a factor on there.
It's non sequitur to what you asked to what I'm addressing.
I'm sorry, I just got here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm just letting you know it's not related at this very moment. So
right. You're saying a long hallway, right?
Right. So if you are looking down a really long corridor, a really long hallway, the ceiling is going to appear to ramp down in your vision, and the floor is going to appear to ramp up. The two are going to appear to meet. The walls on the sides are going to appear to also meet. The left wall and the right wall are also going
without
to start
humidity
to
or nothing.
Yeah, climate controlled hallway. What humidity, right? It's no different. You can go out on a really, really dry day, no humidity, and your eyes are still going to work the same way. You're still going to have that pyramidal field of view. Art students are taught this. I was taught this. I attended many art classes through middle school and high school. So, they teach you your perspective, your field of view, your vanishing points, right? At the point of where this
how long's this hallway?
Make it as long as you need it to. It could be 10 feet, it could be 20 feet, it can be 30 feet, it could be 100 feet.
When does the ceiling reach the floor?
Oh, I don't know. I'd say I start to notice it within about 10 feet from my vision. Sitting outside, looking down a long corridor right now, and the ceiling or the awning appears to be ramping down, and the sidewalk appears to be ramping up.
That might be glasses. I'm not gonna lie.
She doesn't wear glasses. No. So what she's trying to
I don't need glasses.